Good afternoon, fellow Ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you so much for joining as we're about to discuss a very important topical matter. And please make sure you're liking the videos. I see that you're watching, but you're not liking. Then how are you going to support the channel if you're not liking the videos? Make sure that you like the videos. Another thing, just don't like the videos and leave the video, because if you do that, then you destroy the viewership, because this is about interaction. YouTube wants to see that the viewers are interacting with the videos. They're not just going on it and liking it and moving on, because it destroys the video. It suggests that this is a bot, this is not a real person, somebody just liked it and moved on. So if you are not going to watch the video, don't like it. It's better if you don't like it at all. But if you're watching the video and you're going to watch it through, then give the like button, just hit the like button, just smash the like button so that the videos can be sent along. It is the way how the system is set up, is designed. I am in no way in control of that system. So make sure that you like the videos as you are watching the video and you're interacting with the video. And if you can, leave an intelligent, thoughtful comment. Now, Haiti is also another time in the news. Haiti is in the news once more, and we're hearing about private military in Haiti. So the United States is no longer going to send its state military to countries, it seems. It seems like everything is going to be privatized, which means that it will not be held under any obligations to adhere to human rights and to stick to decency. Because if you're having what you have, all of things contractual and privatized, then nothing will be held to account, particularly in Congress. Now, we're hearing that Erik Prince, who was the founder of Blackwater in Iraq, and we know the horror stories that we heard in Iraq and the waterboarding and the horrific torture that this private company used on Iraqis. Now, after that war, well, while that war was in operation, that and the American public became aware of what was happening through leaks in the media or to the media. It seems that the company was disbanded, but of course, they don't disband companies and leave, right? They come in a new name and they stick around and they, redesign their motives and their modus operandus or modus operandi. So that is what they do, right? So that is what these people do. They don't just leave the scene because they have been exposed. They hang around and they refashion, redesign themselves into a much more likable, if you will, image. So we hear from this paper, this commentary given in Responsible Statecraft, and the title is The Former Blackwater Founder and Global Gun for Hire Wants to Get Back into the Washington Game Big Time. Haiti could be Erik Prince's deadliest gambit yet for business and a ticket back into the good graces of the Washington military-industrial complex. And I'm happy that the first sentence here lays the foundation for the Washington military industrial complex, because that is what it is. Now, one of the things that I find very amazing is that during the Republican reign, the so-called liberal media, the New York Times and the MSNBCs and the CNNs, they tend to pretend as if they are against the U.S. military-industrial complex because there's a conservative in power. So when George W. Bush was in power, you could hear them speaking against Blackwater, against the war in Iraq, the war on terror. But when Barack Obama came into power, they endorsed everything that he did. And did he not destroy the U.S. democratic process? He did, right? And the same thing with Biden, when Joseph Biden came into power, because after Barack Obama, then you had Trump's first term, and they were very excoriating in terms of saying what Trump is doing and that he's destroying the democratic freedoms and the democratic rights and structures and privileges that exist in the United States. And every day they went at it as they're doing right now. But when Biden came into office and Kamala Harris as vice president, they were not very critical of the policies that Joseph Biden was implementing along with Kamala Harris. We must remember that Haiti was in the news all along during the Biden administration. In fact, when the Biden administration started, remember now that it was under Biden that man died, the president of Haiti, that was murdered, Jovenel Moise, right? It was under Biden's administration, the Biden administration, that he was murdered. And that murder has still not been clarified. We don't know who the culprit was or still is. Many speculations are suggesting that the CIA might have been involved. We don't know. There is no concrete evidence to suggest that that is so. But a lot of people are saying that, and perhaps that is not the entire story, but maybe there is some truth to it. Who knows? The fact of the matter is that Joseph Biden did not seek to bring closure to that matter and to tell the people to do the investigation to say who really killed Jovenel Moise. Now, a lot of times when we see the liberal media, whether they are coming from Jamaica or the United States or the DR or wherever they're coming from, wherever you have the liberal media, because they all sing the same song, the same hallelujah chorus. They pretend as if Haiti finds itself in a position overnight, that this position that Haiti currently finds itself in has not been brewing and has not been a major problem to which the United States has contributed a lot under both political parties. It was under both political parties that Haiti became like a colony of the United States. And it is a colony of the United States. But they pretend as if when under the democratic rule, oh, we want solutions, we want Haitian solutions to their problems. We don't want any UN solutions. We don't want US's solution, as if the United States does not control Haiti. And the military-industrial complex in the United States does not control Haiti. But that is what it is. And we have to understand that this is not just a Trump problem. It's not that Trump is racist and Trump is this, because the entire military-industrial complex is a racist system. Right? It is a racist system. And this morning we are waking up to hearing that, that Israel launched an attack on Iran. And we're thinking that it's Israel which is doing it. But Israel might have a role, of course, in what is happening. But certainly the United States wants to have full spectrum dominance in the entire world, including in the Middle East. And it's using Israel to do its dirty work. It's using Israel to do its dirty work. But it's going to present Israel as the front man, the front guy, and then pretend as if, no, it's not us. And Donald Trump is suggesting that, well, I was trying to negotiate with Iran so that we could come up with a peace agreement. But at the same time, Israel launched its attack. And if Iran retaliates, this is what Trump is saying, if Iran retaliates against what Israel has done, then the US will support Israel. Now, how facetious, is that even logical, a statement to me? If you, the United States, the most powerful country in the world, right, which has the most powerful military the world has ever seen, okay? And some people are suggesting that what the US has or doesn't have, you don't know what the US has. You don't know what the military equipment they have. You do not know. Because the United States is not a democracy. Its military-industrial complex is not democratic by any stretch of the imagination. So even Americans, they don't know. The journalists don't know. Even the members of Congress, many of them do not know what equipment the United States has or doesn't have. So we don't know. And I think the US, because it has a great intelligence, it would not allow other countries to have more powerful weapons than they have. Right? They know what weapons the other countries, the so-called enemies, have. They do know, but they pretend. But let's go back to Haiti, and let's look at the whole fact, as I was suggesting, of that the Democratic Party is responsible for what is happening, just like the Republican Party were responsible for what is happening in Haiti. And if you don't believe me, there was an article here written in NACLA by Jemima Pear. And Jemima Pear is Haitian American. I think she's now a professor at the University of Toronto. And the article is entitled Haiti as Empire's Laboratory. As the United States and its allies push renewed foreign intervention, the uses and abuses of the first Black Republic as a testing ground of imperialism offer stark warnings. Haiti still struggles to be free. As she talks about imperialism, I would like Americans to understand, particularly what is happening in California, to understand that everything that is happening in Haiti, and I've been saying that for a long time, is going to happen right there. Everything that happened in Iraq is going to happen right there. Everything that happened in El Salvador, in Guatemala, in Nicaragua, all of these countries, all of the military conquests and the torture that they practiced in these countries will be exported, will be sent back home on the mainland. You have to understand that. So people want to fight and they're going to fight. Well, good luck to you fighting the military-industrial complex. Because Americans have sat there all these years thinking that they're special. And that, yes, we can just torture other people. Torture other people. But we are special people and our government will not do that to us. But I have news for you, because worse is going to happen to you and your children, because you have not been paying attention and you have been listening too much to what the media are saying, the CNNs and the MSNBCs, and thinking that this is a Trump problem, all of this thing, even the whole matter of the tariffs. If you think that the tariff war between China and the US is a Trump problem, you need to go back and read your history. You need to go back and read your history and perhaps go and look at the Project for the New American Century. And I've suggested books for you to read, like, Chalmers Johnson's books, because it's very important. And very few journalists in America are really putting things in proper perspective. Very few. Many of them don't understand. And if they do, they don't want to ruffle the feathers. So they give you what you want to hear. So here Jemima continues to say, based on what she's seeing there in Haiti, she says that in December 2019, President Donald Trump signed into law H.R. 2116, also known as the Global Fragility Act. Although this act was developed by the conservative United States Institute of Peace, it was introduced in Congress by Democratic Representative Eliot L. Engel, then chair of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, and co-sponsored by a bipartisan group of representatives, including significant Democrat Karen Bass. So you must understand that this is a bipartisan effort. When you think that what is happening in Congress and the US's military-industrial complex is just Trump, it's Trump, every day is Trump. And what Trump is doing, Trump is chaotic. The military-industrial complex, what they do when they go to countries, they produce, they engineer chaos. Chaos is what is equivalent with or to the US military-industrial complex. Okay? It's not about Trump. Trump cannot do anything that the US military-industrial complex doesn't want him to do. Anything that the Pentagon prevents him from, he can't do it. In fact, there are things that he wants to do and the Pentagon says no. In fact, there are things that he doesn't want to do also. And the Pentagon says, I'm going to do it, and whether you like it or not. So Trump is only the face of the military-industrial complex. He is not the one who is the actor, the major actor, the one who is running the show, the one who is calling the shots. He's certainly not the person who is calling the shots. And you have to now delve into history. You've got now to read more, to assess, to understand how this system is designed and how it operates. So she's saying here, Jemima Pear is saying here that both parties, Democrats and Republicans, are responsible for what is happening in Haiti. In 2022, the Biden-Harris administration affirmed its commitment to the GFA by outlining a strategy for its implementation. As detailed in the strategy's prologue, the U.S. government's new foreign policy approach depends on willing partners to address common challenges and share costs. Ultimately, they have to share costs like what Jamaica is doing, sending its military there, even though it's not our problem. Ultimately, the document continues, no U.S. or international intervention will be successful without the buy-in and mutual ownership of trusted regional, national, and local partners. The Biden administration has also stressed that the GFA will use the United Nations and other multilateral organizations to carry out its missions. So the United Nations is bought and sold, right? The United Nations is bought out and sold to U.S. military interests. Just want you to know. The prologue outlines a 10-year plan for the GFA that, according to the U.S. Institute of Peace, will allow for the integration and sequencing of U.S. diplomatic development and military-related efforts. Among 5 trial countries for GFA implementation, Haiti is the first target. So the U.S. is moving away from diplomacy and testing, flexing, I should say, its military muscles. The U.S. is moving away from soft diplomacy and it's now flexing its military muscles, its military imperial muscles, something that you've got to understand. I hope you're understanding this very important matter. Now, we see here in this newspaper in these times, and this was an article published on March 21, 2013, Haitian sweatshops made in the United States. Okay? And this is shortly after the earthquake, 2013. When the shift changes in the late afternoon, thousands of Haitians stream out from under an arched entrance labeled Parc Industriel Metropolitain, which is in French, toward the traffic-choked streets of Port-au-Prince. Among them is David, a thin 32-year-old man in a short-sleeved dress shirt and slacks who works at one of the many garment assembly factories here, sewing pants for export to the United States. Through a Creole interpreter, David says the way he and his co-workers are treated is pas bon, not right. That's what he's suggesting to the journalist here, the person who's interviewing him, who's writing the story. Yet a lot of high-powered people with a stake in Haitian affairs think jobs like David's represent the answer to Haiti's problems, right? So just get some foreign investors, and even though they're having lots of sweatshops as they have in Jamaica, right? That is the solution to Jamaica's and Haiti's economic problem. To have very cheap labor and people who are working under sweatshop-like conditions where they're slaves. And that is, no job is better than, some job is better than none. That's what they're suggesting. So if you're a slave, and slavery, by the way, was an employment, even though they weren't paid, but they were given food and shelter and sick leave in some cases, and had their medical, even though it wasn't great, their medical benefits, whatever that was. So slavery to some extent was a work, it was productivity, but it was not humane. It was not humane. And many of you are suggesting, yes, it's better to have some type of work than none. Okay? But this is not the solution to Haiti's problem. So listen to what the U.S. State Department, the Inter-American Development Bank, and the government of Haitian President Michel Martelly, who was then the former president at that time, recently pulled together more than $300 million in post-earthquake subsidies to create another industrial park just like this one, but in northeast Haiti, with Korean textile manufacturer SAE as its anchor tenant. Then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and former President Bill Clinton both spoke at the park's opening ceremony, hailing it as the centerpiece of U.S. efforts to help Haiti recover from the devastating 2010 earthquake. Secretary Clinton echoed President Martelly's mantra that Haiti is open for business, right? Haiti is open for business. So this is what they're doing. And the Haitians realized what they were doing and decided that they would protest. And what happened? The military was sent there. The United States sent military and other countries to keep them quiet, right? And to keep their acts of protest suppressed, if not to kill it. Okay? Now, that's the same thing that is happening on US shores. Here we have ICE, who wants to just go and pick up undocumented citizens. In fact, the Gleaner reported 2 days ago where an African-American citizen was just about to be swept up and sent to Jamaica and be deported to Jamaica, even though he has no sort of ties. And this is a new case. We had read about one last year, and this is a new case. So even American citizens can be swept up. And we don't know the history of this man. Maybe he belongs to a trade union, okay, in which he is vouching for the rights of American citizens, and that's what they will do. They will strip you of your rights. Okay? This is the America that you are currently living in, a militarized America, as they militarized Haiti and sending now private armies to Haiti. Okay? So we're living in a new era where when the United States is going to war and they're using the military, it doesn't mean that it's going to be by the state. Well, it represents a state, but it's not going to be where they're recruiting you or a career job in which the army is, obligated to Congress, right? Has to report to Congress and to the US president. Okay? These are private mercenaries, and they can do whatever they want. Private contractors, they can kill you, and you will not be able to get any rights. This is what is happening in the United States of America. Okay? Now, the statecraft, that was the responsible statecraft. Prince's Blackwater reigned during the global war on terror, but left a legacy of disastrous mishaps, most famously the 2007 Nisour massacre in Iraq, where Blackwater mercenaries killed 17 civilians. This, plus his willingness in recent years to work for foreign governments in conflicts and for law enforcement across the globe, have made Prince one of the world's most controversial entrepreneurs. Prince sold Blackwater in 2010, but remains at large in the private mercenary business. Indeed, a desperate Haiti has now hired him to conduct lethal operations against armed groups who control about 85% of Haitian capital, Port-au-Prince. So they're saying that the Haitian gangs control 85% of Port-au-Prince, which is the main city in Haiti, the principal city in Haiti, the capital, Port-au-Prince. Okay? They're sending these mercenaries there. Now, if you don't understand the history of the US military-industrial complex and US occupation in Haiti, you will think, well, they have to, set some order, right? They have to restore law and order, and that they should want to do. However, if you understand the history of militarism and imperialism in Haiti, then you will understand what is going on there. You will understand what is going on there, and you understand what is happening in California, what is happening on other streets of the United States, because this is complete now militarization of these cities in which your rights will be violated and will be taken away. Re-emerging after an extended absence from Washington circles, Prince's Haiti venture coincides with a number of adjacent bids for current White House, which during the first Trump term turned down a Prince plan to privatize the war in Afghanistan. So when Trump said he wanted to stop the war in Afghanistan, that's what he wanted to do, to privatize it. And you think that he wants peace. But Trump wants peace that is manufactured and that will make him money and will make the military-industrial complex money. Okay? And that is what he's talking about. But what Prince stands to gain by the venture may well be Haiti's loss. Indeed, Prince's private contractors operating in a legally gray area in a functional conflict zone could wreak further havoc after a legacy of Western meddling that has undermined the country's affair. Okay? So that's what is happening. That is what is happening in Haiti right now, that these private mercenaries will be sent there to kill, to steal, and to destroy. And the Haitians will not be getting any defense from human rights or from the United Nations. They will say their piece, but they will have more barks than bites. They will have more barks than bites. Very important that you understand that. So here we have Haiti now, a country that is in a crisis. And to solve the crisis, the United States military-industrial complex has decided to outsource private mercenaries, private army, a private army controlled by the likes of Erik Prince, who was the owner of Blackwater, and we know the horror stories that came out of Iraq. Now, how could this be happening in 2025 after so many protest actions in the United States against the war on terror? But that's what they do. You go and you jump and you sweat, you bust some sweat, and then they continue. And now, as we're suggesting, as we're seeing in the United States, you can't even protest anymore. Because if you do, you're going to come in conflict with private armies also, who will abuse you. So it's almost like we are silenced, and there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing that we can do. Because when these things were happening in Haiti, when the president of Haiti in 2004 was deposed by the US military, okay? When he was deposed by the US military, the US citizens should be more perturbed by what took place there. They should be, but they weren't that perturbed. What happened in Iraq, yes, a few protests, but not this level of protest that we should have seen. Okay? So the condition after the earthquake and with the large sums of money that were contributed to the rebuilding of Haiti, but we understand that that went into the Clintons' coffers and all of the private contractors of the US military-industrial complex. Right? So this wasn't about rebuilding. This was a money-making event in which they used that sort of unfortunate event to have fattened their bank accounts. And the Haitians are there suffering, calling out for help. And right now, who's going to help them? Because the United States can't help them because they can't even help themselves at this point in time. Because right now, Trump and the US military-industrial complex, and I'm suggesting here that both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, built the system, built this gigantic system that is going to destroy completely the rights of US citizens. And the horror stories that have come out of Latin America, and Brazil can teach you a lot, Nicaragua, El Salvador, all of these countries. And I say El Salvador, as I mentioned this country, El Salvador, notice that El Salvador also has a private prison. And I think he got $6 million from the US for his Secot prison there in El Salvador. It's a business. It's a business. And why do you think Trump is trying to send hundreds of thousands of immigrants to these places so that they can work for nothing and they can become prison slaves and their rights can be violated? Now it's the immigrants and green card holders, the undocumented immigrants. Afterwards, it will be US citizens. In fact, we are seeing, as I've suggested previously, that US citizens will also dissidents primarily, but eventually citizens will be sent there. They just see and don't like you. Remember now that they're also using AI. And these AI things, they don't have accurate information all the time. So just say that somebody resembles me, or they just say AI, well, we got the information that you were the one who did this or did that. And they sweep you up and send you to a country, a third country, and your family doesn't know where you are. Your parents don't know where you are. This is the country, this is the world that we are currently living in. So here we have now private mercenaries heading to Haiti, right, to exploit the people on behalf of private corporations. And I can tell you that the stocks will be going up. And who will want to invest their monies in these stocks? Because these stocks are killing people, right? The blood of innocent people is what you are eating and is what you are using to fatten your bank accounts. If we know that these, people and the stocks that they are investing in, and you're investing your money in those stocks to yield a lot of money, you are just as guilty as Erik Prince. So you have nothing to say against him, because that is what we want to know. We want to think, I want all of this money, but how did you achieve that money? How did you get such huge return on your investment? Through the shedding of blood. And you are going to be held. God is going to hold you accountable, even though you did not go there and pull a trigger. But the fact that you're investing, especially if you know, and that is why everywhere now you're investing your money, you ought to know who these companies are affiliated with. You ought to know that. Make sure you're liking the videos and you're also subscribing to the channel. Very important that you do that. But we're seeing this development right now in which the Haitians are going to be treated like animals. They are going to be treated like animals, and there's going to be no one to defend them, because I would think if there's no sort of leakage, that we won't even know what these guys will do behind closed doors. So make sure you're following this story, because what is happening in Haiti is going to be the blueprint, the template for what is going to happen in all major cities around the world. Are you prepared? Are you preparing your children? Are you preparing your mind, most importantly, to be able to deal with the storm that is about to be waged upon the world? Thank you so much for joining. I hope you'd like, share, and subscribe. Like the videos so the videos can be shared with as many people on the platform. So long. Take care.